Right. Yeah. Right. So now we have seen why LangChain and what is the motivation behind this session. Right. So before we get started, let me take a moment to quickly introduce about myself. Right. So my name is Sarveshwaran Rajagopal, and I'm currently working as a senior specialist data scientist at LTE Mindtree. Over the past few years, I've had the opportunity to work on projects involving generative AI agents, rack systems, and all this the cloud platforms, helping to build solutions that make AI truly useful in business setting. Coming to the academic front, I've completed advanced programs in data sciences from IIT Stewart School of Business, Great Lakes Institute of Management, and BITS Planning. Right, so which helped me to shape a strong foundation both in analytics and applied AI. Right, so why and quick motivation about me and a quick introduction about me. So it's just to motivate you guys, right? So to believe me that I've worked on these areas, and alongside my professional work, I've been mentoring learners for over 7+ years across platforms, Bitsplan, Upgrad, Great Learning, Inside IM, right? So with over 3,000 plus mentoring hours over the weekends, I'll be doing all the session works. I'll be taking sessions, webinars, for all the other platforms. Now I'm doing it for myself, right? So I've got an average rating of over 4.85 out of 5, right? So among the top 10 mentors in whichever the tech platforms you can consider. So through this experience, I realized something important. So most AI learners understand the theory, right? So all these platforms, they cover so much of theoretical aspect. There are a lot of complaints, right? But they really struggle to build real projects and showcase them effectively, right? So the theoretical concepts are good because we are not in academia. When it comes to industry perspective, how can you bring the ROI for your project, so for your clients, right? So how to build real projects, right? So theory is good, right? So how can you make your hands dirty, and how can you build some effective solutions? That's exactly why I founded this Learn with Savish, and an edtech platform where we focus on hands-on, industry-ready AI learning. Right. So that's the ultimate goal here. Right. So how can we create an industry-ready platform? Right. And our goal is simple: to help the developers and students go from learning concepts, the theoretical concepts, to building projects and launching their AI portfolio. Right, so having a portfolio ready is the need of the hour, right? So we have already launched the first full series, Python for AI, and now we are gearing up our flagship 12-week the crash course, LangChain plus AI automation bootcamp, where we learn 10 plus real world projects, which I'll showcase what are the projects that we'll be covering at last. Right, so today's webinar is not just about learning LangChain, it's about showing you the path to become a next generation AI developer. Right, so now let's start with an interesting question. So, how many of you here have used ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude at least once this week? Please make use of the chat. Right? So, how many of you have used ChatGPT? Definitely, right? Gemini or Claude in this week, how many times have you used it, and for what purpose that you have used it? Bala Satish, please, Deepak. So, what are some reasons that you have used it? Right? So, yeah, yes. Uh, for prompts to make videos, right? So yeah, so almost everyone have used it. So we all use these tools daily. Let it be writing emails, summarizing text, debugging code, even drafting LinkedIn posts. But here's the thing: so using these tools and building with these tools are completely different worlds, right? So uh, right, so I think Haragopal, right? So you're not able to log in. Let me see. Right. So maybe I can tackle that. Right. So yeah. So we can use all these tools. Using these tools, go to ChatGPT and you can make use of all these tools. Now, how can you build with these tools? How can you build these tools? This is very important, right? So prompting gets you in response, but building gets you in system that can deliver consistent, repeatable, and intelligent outcomes, right? So let's give prompting its first credit. So prompting is like learning to communicate with the AI, right? So all the AI models. When ChatGPT came out, everyone suddenly realized, wow, I can talk to AI like a human. That's a revolution by itself. Now, for example, you can say, right? So explain transformers like I'm 5 years old. It's the complete transformers architecture can be explained in simple layman terms, in simple English. The AI can summarize it for you. Right? Summarize this news articles in bullet points. If you're a busy professional, right? So you want to keep abreast of what's happening in the tech industry. Right? So what's the top five? Right? So you pass on news articles and you can create your own project. Right? So every day you can deliver. You can get the summarized news articles in your WhatsApp, right? So summarize this news articles in bullet points, and I want to get it in my WhatsApp, right? So, or I want to get it in my email, right? So you can create your own newsletters by this, right? So write a Python script that scrapes a website, right? It's mind blowing at first because it feels like magic, right? So it's not so easy to do. It's a magical world. But after a few weeks, developers start realizing its limits, right? So you copy paste all this, the entire news to ChatGPT, and it's going to give it to me in bullet points. It's again a repeatable task. You type the same prompt today, tomorrow, and you might not get the same structure or the output. You copy the code and run it in your system, and it doesn't quite fit in your data. That's where your frustration begins. Definitely, you can't deploy a prompt, right? So you can deploy in system around it, right? So can you deploy in prompt in production environment? You cannot deploy in prompt because these AIs are unreliable, right? So they are not going to give the same response again and again. But we can make sure that it gives a qualitative response around the same response that what it has given earlier, right? So you can deploy in system around it. Now, let's say you ask ChatGPT, what's the revenue of Tesla in 2024? Right? So it might respond, the previous versions of ChatGPT might respond as per my knowledge, the cutoff is 2023, 2024, or even though it responds, you cannot be authoritative or you cannot be sure that it has the right response, right? So the model has no awareness of your data or even your real time facts. Now imagine you work in a company and ask, summarize your last quarter's customer complaints from our database. How in this world the AI is going to have an access to your customer database, right? So how in this world it's going to create a summary of the customer's complaints from your own database? The Chat GPT cannot do it. The Gemini cannot do it. Claude cannot do it. But they don't, because they don't know your data or your business context. So that's the first big gap between the prompting and building, right? So we have been playing with prompting, right? So we have not delivered serious business with it. Maybe it's helpful for us to understand and very complex concept and simple things, business deliverables, uh, solving real time enterprise scale problems we are not able to solve it with simple prompts, right? So that's the first big gap. LLMs can't access your private data, number one point, and the number one drawback. How can LLMs can access your private data? So programmatically we can make sure we can solve uh, uh, this problem by giving access to the database. They don't know your own PDFs, they don't know your own Excel sheets or CRM data or knowledge bases unless you connect them. That's the problem of tools. Now let's take another situation. You're building a chatbot for travel booking. So the user asks, right? So book me a flight from Chennai to Bangalore tomorrow morning under 4,000 rupees. Can ChatGPT do it? Right? So can ChatGPT do it? Definitely not. Right? So Okay, there is some problems. Okay, thanks, Balakrishna. I think Krishna has a problem, the audio problem. Haragopal, you say that you're not able to join, but I can solve it after the session only. As of now, you continue with the mobile. I can solve that problem. We have limited the login devices. Okay, maybe you can log out from one of the devices and you can log in. Okay, now coming back here. So, how can we book and flight ticket? So, we are going to ask book and flight from Chennai to Bangalore tomorrow morning under 4,000 rupees, right? So, the chat GPT do not have the access, right? So, they don't have the tool access. It can't call the APIs, it can't check the flight prices or a process of a payment. This is what we call the tool use problem. In real AI applications, we need our agents to not just talk but act. We need to act and talk. That's why frameworks like LangChain, Llama Index, and Crew came into existence. They give models the ability to use tools, access APIs, interact with the world. They transform an LLM from being a chatbot into being an agent. That's where the world of agentic AI has come into picture, right? So agentic AI, how can I access or give an superpower to these language models, to give an access to private tools, to access to private data using these agents, right? Then again we have the second problem, the problem of consistency, right? So the next biggest problem is the consistency. Let's say you are building an email summarizer using prompts. You ask ChatGPT, summarize this email thread in 50 words. It gives you a neat summary. Fantastic, you liked it, right? So accidentally you have run it again. Suddenly the tone changes. One time it writes in third person notation, next time it uses in first person notation. For personal use, it is fine, right? So you can go back and run it hundreds of times. But in production systems, that's nightmare, right? So what is the the reputation? The company's reputation is at stake, right? So that's a nightmare, right? So imagine A is sending inconsistent messages to 1,000 users a day, right? So imagine, right? So it's completely the reputation of the company. The company is at stake. The moment you realize this, you understand you can't rely on prompt luck, right? So you need a structured workflow, clear the prompt templates, define the inputs and outputs, control over context and retrieval, testing and versioning. And that's where LangChain comes in, right? So the motivation, right? So for so long, so far, I've been giving a strong motivation. What are the challenges with the language models? What are the things that the language model is not able to do? How are we able to solve it, right? So we are able to solve all these problems using LangChain. It helps you define that pipeline and chain and the steps reliably, right? So and then we have the prompting was building, right? So what is prompting, what's building, right? Now prompting, like what we were doing with chat gpt or Gemini, right? So it's quick, creative, and conversational. This is great for ideation and single short tasks. There's no control, no memory, no real world data connection. Building LangChain and agent frameworks, right? So that's what the prompting was. Now what, let's come to the building. Now we are going to make a system around the prompt, structured inputs, structured outputs, integrate with APIs and databases. And the system that we are going to build, it has memory, context, and tool use, right? This can be deployed. This becomes a system, right? So this becomes a system, not merely in prompt. This can be deployed, scaled. So in terms, prompting is like asking for advice, right? So building is like hiring an assistant who actually does the work, right? So let's take an AI email assistant. In simple example, so you are building an AI that drafts email for you, right? So you could prompt the chat GPT Write a follow-up email to recruiter thanking them for an interview. That's great. That's fantastic, right? Right? But what if you want the AI to automatically read the last email that you have received? You want the email to extract the recruiter's name and the company, right? So what if you want to personalize the tone, right? So you have your own tone. Yeah, you're being more humble, right? So you have your own tone, right? So you want AI to check your calendar and suggest the meeting slots. Chat GPT alone can't do that. We need a system, right? But with LangChain, you can connect to your Gmail APIs, Google Calendar API, use the LLM as a reasoning engine that orchestrates these tasks. That's the difference between prompt-based system and an AI-powered workflow, right? Next, let's take a resume analyzer, which I wanted to show you today. That's a quick demo that I wanted to show. What happens, right? So, uh, the resume analyzer, right? So I upload a resume to ChatGPT. It can summarize it, right? So, but if you want to parse hundreds of resumes automatically, you want to extract the skills, experience, match them with the job descriptions, and you want to rank the candidates based on the similarity scores. That's not prompting anymore. You need a system, you need a memory, right? So that's what you call it, a LangChain pipeline, right? So that's where LangChain comes in. It uses embeddings to represent resumes as vectors and then compare them intelligently. And that's real AI engineering. And that's why knowing LangChain is a core skill. That's the motivation of pushing you towards why LangChain are different any other frameworks, any other AI frameworks. Right, to sum up, you can chat with these models, all AI models, for chatting purpose. But can you build with them? That's the number one question. Can you build a system around a prompt? Right? So you cannot build a system around a prompt. That's where this AI frameworks comes in. Every developer who understands prompts but can't chain them is leaving 90% of AI's potential still on the table. There are so much of low hanging fruits in the industry, right? So just to read an email, reply an email, right? So there's not many systems that we have, right? So there are so many low hanging fruits and automations that you can do it for yourself, so much better, and far in superior tones, right? uh, LangChain is the bridge between these two worlds, right? So it lets you take your prompt, right? So whatever the prompt ideas that you have, it's going to take your prompt ideas and then turn them into the working AI products. Whatever the AI products that you want to create, it's going to convert a simple prompt around a system, right? So we are creating a system. It's a working AI product. And next few slides will unpack how that works and why it's a skill that every AI developers should master in this 2025. Right? So why LLMs aren't alone, aren't enough alone, right? So we just talked about how AI developers today knows how to prompt, but the challenge is actually building something repeatable and reliable. Now let's dig deeper into why that's hard. Here's the truth. LLMs by themselves aren't designed for real world production system. They are brilliant at understanding language, but they lack four key abilities at every developer's or that every developer expects from a true AI assistant. First, the LLMs are stateless, right? So LLMs are stateless. What does stateless mean? Can someone put it in the chat? What is stateless? What is a stateless in the world of LLMs? What will you call it as in stateless? 。  . 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . . 。 . . . . . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . 。 Asynchronous, stateless. Okay, right. So here in the concept in the world of LLM, when I say LLMs are stateless, that means LLM don't have memory. First, LLMs are stateless, right? So you could argue, right? So I've been chatting with ChatGPT for all this while. After a week, I come back and I still speak about the itinerary that I've planned for my Thailand trip. Still, it's responding fine. So, what does this ChatGPT do? Do you think the ChatGPT or the language model is going to remember the past conversations? It's printed, right? So, it's going to send all the past conversations to the language model, right? So whatever the language model that it has, right, whatever the chat conversations that you had, right, so we are going to pass it to the language model, right? So along with the prompt and completion we'll get the complete response at last, right? So LLMs are not going to remember, right? So they are not remembering, they don't have memory. LLMs are stateless, right? So they don't remember your previous conversation unless you explicitly feed the history again and again. Every chat that you make to chat gpt, it's going to together send for every API calls. It's going to take and compress all the past messages and it is going to send it to the API, right? So it's not doing it all by itself, right? So all the past, all the 100 conversations that it had, that you have that you had conversed, it's going to pass it to the language model and we are going to get the response. Exactly, Balasatish. You're right, Rajiv. Right? So that's where we call it as stateless. Right? For example, right? So you're going to ask, like, remind me what we discussed yesterday. Right? So all of a sudden, all in a new chat, we are going to open and chat GPT, and if you are going to ask, remind me what we discussed yesterday, definitely no. If you go to the past messages that you chatted yesterday and you continue the conversation, will be able to respond, because what it does, it going to take all the past messages, sending it to the language model, getting the response back, right? So that's where we always say LLMs are stateless, they don't have the memory, right? So that's because the model has no inherent memory. It's not like a human brain keeping context alive. Every input is treated as a completely new session. So if you are building a customer support chatbot and the user says, I ordered a laptop yesterday, but the charger isn't working. Who is that customer? What laptop did he order? What was the type of the charger? What is the type of the model? The model won't automatically know what the order details they're referring to, right? So we say we can create a simple chatbot. Creating a chatbot needs a system, even though it is easy. You need a system to integrate, because we are humans. We ask questions randomly to a chatbot, right? So like take an instance of yourself, right? So the amount of questions that you have asked with chat gpt, right? So we have asked everything, right? So but what happens when it is an um, actual customer data, right? So I ordered a laptop yesterday, but the charger isn't working. Who is that guy who is asking it, right? So from the login we have to get the information. From the order history we need to pick it. What was the laptop that he has picked in, whether it is in warranty, what was the charger, what is the charger type. All these are different APIs. It has to hit the different databases in the system, right? So the model won't know it automatically what the order they are referring to. You need a system. You have to refeed the context every single time. That's not scalable, right? So that's one important thing, that's not scalable. That's where LangChain's memory components come in. They let you store conversation state, they let you recall the facts, they are going to let you maintain continuity across multiple turns. So your A actually remembers who it's talking to. And second important point, they can't call APIs or interact with the world. The second big limitation, LLMs can't just call APIs or take action. For example, let's say I ask ChatGPT, what's the weather in Chennai right now? It will usually say something like this: I don't have access to the real world weather information. Right? Nowadays, the ChatGPTs are integrated with various different APIs. Right? So still we are not 100% reliable, right? So uh, ChatGPT itself doesn't know it. It's going to make use of the APIs, the recent development in the ChatGPT. They've integrated with various different agents, various different APIs, because the model's knowledge ends at its training data. It's going to take an weather API. What is the current weather in Mumbai? What is the current weather in Chennai? Right. So the flood hit, the cyclone hit in Andhra. Right. So what is the current weather in Vizag or in that region? Right. So what is the weather information? It's going to get the information. It's going to convert it to a natural language, and it is going to give it us. Only job of a language model is a next token prediction. Right. So only role of any language model is a next token prediction. It's a prediction model. It's a deep learning model. Right. So the model's knowledge simply ends at its training data. It doesn't know what's happening after that. Now imagine an AI travel assistant. You ask, book a flight from Chennai to Delhi tomorrow morning. Right. The chat GPT can simply describe how you might book it, but it can't actually do it. Right. So these are the steps to book it. It can give you, but it can't actually do it. It can't call the Indigo or Air India API, check the ticket prices, or send confirmations. That's why we say LLMs are brains without hands. They can reason, but they can't act. Right? So LLMs are brains. They don't have an hands. Right? So simply they are in brain. They can give you steps, and extraordinary steps which we can't even remember at that moment, but they can't act. Right? So we all agree with that fact. Right? So it can't act. So, and this is where LangChain's tools and agents come into play. They give LLMs the ability to connect with APIs, databases, and functions, turning the model from a thinker to a doer. Right? They don't know real-time information. Now, the third limitation: the LLMs are frozen in time. Right? So it's all frozen. Right? So till the morning, the training data that we have taken and the model is trained, only that information or the memory that it has, that it knows. Right. So if you ask ChatGPT who won in 2025 cricket World Cup, right, so it will probably say, I don't know, my knowledge cutoff is 2023. Right. So it itself doesn't have that knowledge. It should be having the capability to connect to other APIs. Right. So this is the deal breaker for any real world application that we have. Right. So because businesses need up to date intelligence, be it latest prices, stock values, company policies, product availability. Right. So you are going to bring in the live stock, all the stock values that's present in a database in a simple chatbot. Right. So imagine you have thousands of products, the SKUs, or let's keep it simple, hundreds of SKUs. Right. So hundreds of different products that you have. You're going to have a simple chat bot, and you're going to ask how much of product A is still remaining. Right. So how much of my product A is still remaining with us? How much have we sold it? Right. So what is the forecasting for the next week? Right. So we can bring all these things in a simple chatbot, or we could also integrate this to an WhatsApp. Right. So business needs up to date intelligence, be it any business. Right. So do I have product B in my SKU? Right. So or an employee, right, so he's going to take an leave. What is the company policy to take an holiday? Right. So in simple and company related policy information, you don't have to raise a support ticket. Simply ask in chatbot, and it can give you an information, because we have fed our policies to the model. Right. So to the model that we have trained. So without access to the external data like APIs, web scrapers, or the vector database, LLMs quickly become outdated. By now that you can understand, to make it a real time and active chatbot, you need so much of integrations behind the screen. So that's where all this RAG comes in, retrieval augmented generation. LangChain makes it seamless. With RAG, your model can retrieve relevant information, let it be from live or local sources, before generating a response. So instead of hallucinating, it learns to ground its answer on real facts. Right. And fourth important problem is the LLMs hallucinate. Right. So there is a very famous problem, the hallucination. Even though we are overcoming this problem, this is an infamous limitation: hallucinations. Let's be honest. We all have used ChatGPT. And how many of you have seen ChatGPT given confidently wrong answer? We know that it is wrong, but it's so confident. Many times we can see the ChatGPT confidently gives a wrong answer. Right? So after hundreds of conversation that has happened, it tends to give wrong answers. That's what you call it as an hallucination. Right? So it happens because LLMs don't actually know. They predict the next most likely word that's based on patterns. Right? So in a chat setting, that's fine. Right? So it's entertaining. But in a business system, it's dangerous. Right? So imagine in financial AI assistant hallucinating in stock price. Right? So because of which he's going to uh, place a huge bet on that stock, or in medical bot hallucinating on a treatment guideline. So to deploy safely, you need a framework that enforces and ground truth, pulling information from verified sources and context windows. LangChain helps here by allowing developers to connect LLMs to trusted data sources, making answers accurate, contextual, and consistent. Right? So let me give you a few concrete examples. You ask ChatGPT summarize this 100-page PDF, right? So it can't unless you manually paste the text. LangChain solves this with document loaders, chunk-based retrievers, right? So that's where you start to realize, when you start working on real-world use cases, you quickly realize large language models are not products; they are components. They need framework around them for memory, for retrieval, tools, safety. Just like you wouldn't, use a raw neural network without the TensorFlow or an PyTorch, right? So we can create our own perceptron and we can connect it, right? So as an school going kid, we could play around, but we need a framework like in TensorFlow and PyTorch. You shouldn't use a raw LLM without a LangChain or for that matter any similar orchestration layer. LangChain gives you the structure. It lets you chain together LLMs, tools, APIs, and memory to create end-to-end intelligent system. Right? So LLMs are brilliant thinkers. They have amnesia. Right? So they have the amnesia. There is no hands. There is no calendar, and sometimes and vivid imagination, the hallucination that happens. To make them truly useful for real world, we need to extend them, give them memory, tool use, data access, and grounding. That's exactly what the LangChain does. It's the bridge between the raw model intelligence and real world functionality. And that's what we'll explore next: what LangChain is and how it gives superpowers to the LM. Right? So the bridge moment, right? So far we have seen why language models, as amazing they are, hit at certain walls. We have been bouncing back when we try to use them in real world systems. What are the challenges that we can face? Right? So they can understand, generate language, but they can't remember, they can't act, they can't connect with your data. The three compelling needs that I've said: they cannot remember, they can't act on their own, there is no hands, right? So they don't remember, it's stateless. They don't act, they don't have hands, they can't connect with your data. And number four, it tends to go vivid at times, right? So it hallucinates. How do we bridge that gap? How do we take something like ChatGPT or Gemini and turn them into production grade AI system that can access data, call APIs, and respond intelligently every single time they answer us LangChain? Right? LangChain is a developer framework that helps you connect language models to real world applications. Right? So we need to give it real world applications. Right? We are not training. We don't have to train with this LangChain. We are going to give and power to the LangChain or a language model by connecting to our own databases. It's more of a engineering rather than in data sciences. It's more of a engineering role, right? So how can I make get rid of the problems or the drawbacks of language models? They can't remember. You given memory using LangChain. They can't act. We are going to give API access using LangChain. They can't connect with your data. We are going to give connection to all the different databases using some agents, right? So that's how we are going to bridge the gap. That's the compelling need why and LangChain is needed, right? So LangChain sits right in the middle, acting as the bridge between the two. LangChain bridges the gap between LLMs and real world applications, right? So if you have to visualize it, LLM, tools, memory, data, and agents. So each link here represents a superpower LangChain gives your model. LLM is the core brain. There's no denial of the fact. Right? So LLM is the core brain, the model that understands and then generates text. And the tools, right? So okay, the prompts that we have, the connection to the LLMs, and the tools. These are external functions, APIs, calculators, SQL databases, Python scripts, and even web scrapers that the model can use. And we have the memory, right? So what is this memory? This allows your AI to remember context, so it knows who it's talking to and what's being said earlier. And we have the data. This is how you connect the model to your local or enterprise data. Let it be PDFs, documents, vector databases, or APIs. And we have the agents. This is where it all comes alive. The model becomes capable of reasoning, deciding which tool to use, and orchestrating complex workflows autonomously. Together, these make LangChain a complete framework for building intelligent application. Right. So, if I were to give you a simple analogy, think of an LLM as a highly efficient or an intelligent intern. Right. So, a fantastic graduate that you've got into your company as an intern. Right. So, who is recently joined to your company. They are smart. They are articulate. They can reason very well. But on day one, they don't have access to all your files or data, your company's tools, or the past conversations or the meetings that has happened in your organization. What is the organization's work culture? Now imagine you give this intern access to your company's drive, the data. Give them the tools, be it email, Excel, web search, and teach them how to remember things. That's the memory. And finally, give them autonomy to decide which tool to use when. That's what you called as this agents, the agentic AI. That's revolutionized this current the current industry, the agentic AI, right? So now coming to this intern example, suddenly the intern turns into a virtual teammate, right? So he was an intern who is sitting along with 10 years of experience, 15 years of experience graduate, 20 years of an experience graduate, right? So even though he's intelligent, he was not given access to all these things. The moment you give all these things, he becomes a valuable resource and virtual teammate who can not only think but also act intelligently. Now we are going to make use of his intelligent. That's exactly what LangChain does for LLMs, right? So LLMs is a bright student, bright intern. It has the brain, but it doesn't have the other capabilities, right? It's stateless. There's no memory, there's no access to tools. It cannot what connect to which tool to use at what time, the agents. Right now we are going to make use of the LangChain and give the power of a developer to a language model, right? So for developers, LangChain is like the missing link between the prompting and productionization. You no longer have to manually manage API calls, prompt templates, or memory states. LangChain gives you ready made modules to handle all that. You can build a chatbot with memory in under 30 lines of code, just 30 lines of code. Right? So, even that we can get smartly from AI. Right? And document question answering bot connected to your PDFs, or even an AI agent that books appointments and fetches data from the web. And the best part, it's modular, right? So you can start small, right? Small, right? So bit by part, you can make it, right? So all the agile methodology that we've been working with the industry, right? So you can start small. all by yourself and single man work, right? So you can become an independent contributor. Whatever that you want to create, you can create on your own. Build a simple chain and then scale it into an agentic system with multiple tools, memory, workflows. That's why the tagline for this slide is LangChain is a toolkit, right? So LangChain lets you go beyond prompts to build intelligent systems, right? So and also LangChain is like a toolkit that helps the developers build AI workflows fast and modular, right? So and also we can also I want to bring in one more point here, why LangChain matters for developers and how LangChain works. Under the hood of the LangChain, what happens? LangChain uses the concept of chains. Lang chain, split it into two half. Lang and chain. Lang for language. Chain, all the chaining concepts, where each chain is a sequence of steps that the AI follows. You take the user input, format it with a prompt template, pass it to the LLM, process or store the output. You can chain multiple steps together, like summarizing, classifying, generating. And when you add memory, the model starts to recall previous instructions. When you add retrievers, it can fetch context from your database. When you add agents, it can reason. Right? So we'll see what is memory, what is retrievers, what is agents in our cohort. Right? So we'll answer this question. I should use tool A instead of tool B. That's what makes LangChain so powerful. It's not just one API call, it's an entire reasoning pipeline. Right? So we can build a resume analyzer and PDF summarizer, customer support bot, and travel agent. Right? So LangChain gives structure to your creativity. Right? It gives developers, developers like you and me, instead of and Lego blocks where you can connect to an LLM, plug in your data, add a memory block, and integrate a few APIs, and suddenly you have built a real a product all by yourself, right? So that's where you need a little help or a little push. That's where we are starting this cohort, right? So you need a little push. How to create and structure this? All everything is available in this world. AI is giving it, but how to do it? An initial push or an initial guideline of how to create an AI products and how to use a LangChain to make day-to-day work accessible is the most important thing. Right now, coming next year, right? So and how can we create a chatbot with memory, right? So LangChain turns into applications. We can create chatbots with memory. Start with most common use cases, chatbots, right? So most of them are dumb chatbots. You ask a question, they answer. You ask again, they forget what you said earlier. So with LangChain, you give our chatbot memory. So now it can remember your name, your preferences, or the last topic you discussed, just like a real assistant. You could build a personal learning assistant that remembers what you studied yesterday and picks up from what you left today. Like imagine a company HR bot that remembers employee request. Hey, already I submitted my leave application yesterday. Now the LangChain's memory component makes this possible with just a few lines of code. Right? So the RAG-based assistant does the same, and right so and the agents that use APIs, document summarizers, content generators. So all this does the same. Now going forward, now you understand what LangChain enables. Now let's make this layer real. Right? So because theory is great, right? So the building is what turns you into a real AI developer. Now let's look at some of the real world AI projects that you'll actually build in your upcoming LangChain master cohort. So every single one of the projects teaches you a specific concept. That's how I have structured this, like chains, agents, RAG, API integration, right? So while giving you a portfolio, and portfolio over the app to show on GitHub or LinkedIn or even in your resume. What does this AI resume analyzer do? Right? So it's one of the most relatable projects. How to extract the text, how to create embeddings, how to evaluate resumes using LangChain. So imagine a system where you upload hundreds of resumes and it automatically parses skills, experience levels, computes and match score against a job description. That's what I wanted to build today. Let's see how it goes. Right. So, and we'll use embeddings to measure the similarity between the resume content and the job requirements, exactly like how a real world ATS, the application tracking system, the ATS work today. This project introduces the foundation of vector database, semantic search, both of which are essential in any modern AI application, right? So, and we have the PDF summarizer, AI to email assistant, your YouTube summarizer, and customer support bots, so on. Now we'll see the quick live demo, and yeah, 1 minute. Let me reshare. Right. So yeah, so I wanted to build it completely, but let me first show you what it does. Right. So what we'll be creating in our first cohort, first session, right? So AI resume analyzer. It's a simple Streamlit application, right? Just to showcase it here. You can copy paste your job description, and we can give our alpha the LLM weight, the similarity weight, and the skill match weight. The moment you drag and drop your resumes, let's do for one. Let's take one job description. Let's copy and paste it. Let's pick 3 or 4. I need to check whether I've picked the right virtual. Yeah, okay, fine. Now you can see, okay, it's not working fine because I've not picked. I've not picked the right virtual environment. Right, so right, so we'll create a simple chatbot and resume parser where it can show you the complete, the responses. Right, so source. Okay, what we'll do is let's quickly build it over here. Right, so let's quickly build a small demo all by ourselves, and then let's see how it can be done. Right, so that's the first cohort demo that I wanted to show it to you. This is the domain that what we can do here, right? So how to build a resume screener, right? So what's a resume screener and how are we going to build it? Right now you can see we'll start with installing the packages. 1 minute. One minute. I picked the wrong file here. 1 minute. Right. So anyway, I don't want to waste time. I can share you this. Um, okay, I picked the wrong file. Hmm. Right. So let me quickly share. Right. So yeah, I think. Right. So now, right. So what we can do here? Now we can create a function to extract a PDF file. Right. So we can quickly extract. Right. So just don't want to type the code here. I've just taken the master file. I wanted to showcase. We want to extract this PDF file, whatever the PDF file that we have created. I'm going to go to this PDF path and read this file. I'm going to use this PyPDF2 to read the PDF reader. You're going to make use of this PDF reader and extract all the text that's present here. Right? So extract all those text that's present here. And then, now let's clean this text here. So I'll going to make use of this regex. Right, so I'm going to print all the non-printable characters and the extra white spaces that's present here using regex function. Right, so and then let's extract these documents. First, let's try, and for each and every document that we have here, doc is equal to document. What is the path? The docx path. Right, so and what is the text? So what is the text that we have here? For each and every paragraph in the document dot paragraphs, I'm going to take the text plus equal to the paragraph dot text plus a new line sequence. Right, so and then I'm going to return the text here. Right, so and then let's write an exception as e. Right, and then let's also return an error reading the docx path. Whatever the path, what is that exception? Now, what do we understand from this? We need to understand what is present as this. Right, so first we have taken and imported and PDF here using this PyPDF2. That's what I have done here. I've extracted this PDF and all the non-printable that we have taken it out. Now extract docx from the document that I'm going to pick. Right, so whatever the Word file that I'm going to have, docx path, it's going to open the Word file. It's going to load the .docx path into the file into the document called as this doc. Right, so and doc.paragraphs. What is this doc.paragraph? This gives you a list of all the paragraphs in a Word file. Right, so the loop goes through each paragraph, retrieves a text, the paragraph text, and adds it into a string called as text. Right, so and I'm going to create a new line, and after each paragraph is becoming, after we have made it readable, and we are going to return this text. This function returns the combined text from the .x file. Right, now what is this clean text? If you have worked with regex, you can understand. Someone may mention this? I mean, what is this that we have mentioned here? What is this clean text? What is this re.sub? What is happening here? So we are making use of the Python's most famous library, regex re module. This is short for the regex the regular expressions. Regular expressions. I'm going to create a function clean text. Right, so then I've used re.sub, all these things, /x20. This represents all printable ASCII characters. Right, so all these things I've created, waters and regex. Where can we use that? I've given in detailed explanations in my free courses. Right, so the letters, numbers, punctuations, and /n/r/t are new line, the carriage written, and the tab. Right, so what does this caret sign stand for? So inside the square brackets means that it's not there, so it deletes everything else, the hidden symbols, the strange Unicode artifacts, and text formatting junk. And we have this re.sub. This replaces any sequence of white spaces. Right, so tabs, new lines, multiple spaces within a single space. Right, so it's a quick way to normalize spacing. Right, so then we have converted it, and then let's also pick in text extraction functions. So how are we going to extract the text? Now I'm going to save all my OpenAI keys into an environment file .env. This has my OpenAI keys, API keys, my Hugging Face keys. How will I use the .environment file? In production system, I cannot put my keys here. I'll put it from .env, import load.env. Right? So load dot env. Now what happens? This loads variables from .environment file into the environment. Right? So how will I get it here? OS operating system, the OS library dot get environ. I'll give the OpenAI key. OpenAI API key. Right? So OpenAI dot API underscore key. I can load it here and I can print API key whether it is loaded or not. I can verify it. OpenAI dot API key is not none. And then I'm going to, right? So why is there in red mark here? API key is loaded. OpenAI dot API key, right? So OpenAI is to be loaded here, and then let's import OpenAI. Let's import the client is equal to OpenAI dot OpenAI, right? So the API key is equal to OpenAI dot API key, right? So this is not if not, this is not none. That's why it was showing. API key is loaded. What API key? OpenAI's API key is loaded here. Right now, how can I use OpenAI API for screening resumes? Now let's write in function here. Now let's screen resumes here. Let's start with a prompt is equal to F. Right? So why is this? Right? So and then let's pass in the resume is the resume text and the job description is job underscore description, and let's analyze the resume for fit. Right? So what shall we return? We are going to return few elements here. I'm going to return the fit score 0 to 100 and candidate summary, key skills, and then missing skills. Right? So let's return all those things. Now let's give a response here. How we are going to programmatically access these things. That's the ultimate goal here. Now the response is client dot chat dot completions dot create right. Now what is the model is equal to, let's pick a model. So I'll pick GPT 3.5 turbo and what is the message is equal to a role. What is the role? Let's pick and role as user, and what is the content as prompt, right? So this is what we are going to have, and we are going to response, create and response dot choices message dot content. Now what is that we are doing? What is happening here? Can someone tell me what is this function? Right, so this is where the magic happens, right? So this is a naive way of dealing with it. I've dealt it with prompts in our complete cohort. I'll show you the code. We'll segment it and we'll create it as a complete application, and we'll also create it as a front end to it, right? So what we have done here, we have created a function screen, the screen resume. This function takes the text from the candidate's resume and the job description. By comparing them, we can see how well the person fits the role. The next part is the most important. This multi-line string defines what we are asking the model to do, right? So the full resume text, the job description, this is very specific, right? Exactly. Right. So then we have the API call. Response is equal to client.chat.completions. We are using the chat completions API, the same one that parses the chat GPT. Right. So we can specify whether we want 3.5 turbo model or an 4.0 model or an 5.0 model. What is that model that we want? We can give that model here. Right. So when we send one message, the role is user. What is an user message? Right. So user is you or me. Right. The A, the response, the message, what we get back is the A response. I'm defining this into and something like this, right? So it simply takes the first choice and returns the response back, right? Say something like, uh, okay, let's run this alone. Resume text. We don't have much time, so else I would have given it in detailed explanation. Python developer with 3 years of experience in data analysis and APIs, right? So now what is the job description? The job description is looking for a data engineer skilled in Python, SQL, and cloud. Now let's print the resume text, comma the job description, right? Now what happens here? It's going to it's just printing this both, right? So now let's pass this both to this model, right? So we are going to pass the uh, we can pass this to this. Okay, so yeah, we have to write, we have to give the complete, we have missed anything, the screen resume. We're going to pass this resume text and this, right? So the model we have passed here, create model. Okay, again we are getting an error here, messages and model, right? So did we did we return it back properly, right? So we have given a response. This is the prompt, the resume, job description that we have taken it from here, screen resume, resume text, the job description, right? So I'm passing it here, and it's going to take this prompt and create this client dot chat completion. What is this arguments client chat GPT 3.5 turbo? Let's reread. There's something wrong here. GPT 3.5 turbo, comma. So we have passing and role, and the content is the prompt. Correct? So everywhere the spelling is correct. Let's run this. Response dot choices response dot choices of 0. Correct? Choices dot message. This is supposed to change it into, let's pass this alone first. Hmm. Messages. Right? So give it as messages. Choices dot message dot content. Right? Now it should work. My typo. Correct. So there's not message, that's messages. Now you can say it's giving me a fit score of 80. The candidate summary. Right? So it's automatically saying the candidate is Python developer with 3 years of experience in data analysis and API. They have relevant skills for the data engineer position. These are the key skills. These are the missing skills. So therefore, I'm giving a fit score. Right. So in our first, the cohort sessions, we'll alter this fit score into 3 different areas. What is the LLM score? How are we giving the similarity score? How are we going to give the sim and the fit score of the LLM? We are going to give it to alpha, beta, and gamma, and we'll create our own logic here, right? So, and how can we build it programmatically? How can we build it programmatically? The complete the building. Okay, let me put it over here, right? So maybe we can continue this in next week, right? So we can go step by step and understand more of this in detail, right? So enter the job description, and I'm passing this all it in single go. Now let's this is the job description. Okay, now let me pass this here. Now it's going to process over 10 resumes that we have here. Aditya Menon, Alex Johnson, Ananya Iyer, Arjun Nair. Right? So now it's processing with respect to what is the JD that I've given, what is the resumes that it has picked in. Right now, it can see we have given also a rank order to it. What is the rank that each of these guys have got? And you can go in here. If you go here, it has created, yeah, and results, and the results are being ranked here. Right? So what is the fit score, and how are we getting the fit score? Right? So this is one simple example. Now I wanted to show the actual project that we would be building. Let me try once again. Let me open the folder structure, our 12 weeks cohort. Let me keep it over here. Select this. Right, so VNV Uh, yeah, I've kept it in a different folder. There are two virtual environments that I created. Anyways, so that was a front end. Okay, anyway, I can show you. Streamlit run. Right, so this creates in a local host. How a simple web app can be created. So this is just to showcase. I'm not concentrated on this front end. So how can you pass the complete job description? I've given three weight alterations, right? So LLM weight, similarity weight, and the gamma, the skill match weight. We could alterate the weightages. I can drag and drop even hundreds of resumes over here, right? So and we'll get what is the metric, right? So what is the percentage match score? And if I'm going to click here, automatically the Excel will be downloaded from this page, right? So that's the ultimate goal here, which I wanted to showcase, and that's what we'll be starting with this cohort. Now let's me go to the presentation, right? So how can we extend this? We could extend this by creating embeddings for semantic search, vector db using phrase and chroma for storing the resumes, right? So and we could also create custom grading logic and dashboards, right? So why every AI developer should know this, right? So and why every AI developer, right? So we are going to take a step back. Right now we have seen LangChain in action, how simple it is to make an AI workflows. Now the bigger question: why should you, as an AI developer, invest time in mastering LangChain, and what does it in it for you right now? LangChain isn't just another Python library; it's the backbone of how AI applications are built in a 2025. Right, so it's the essential skill for you in for AI roles in 2025. So what we'll be doing in our cohort? First, it's a 12-week short crash course. We'll take first 2 weeks for understanding all the foundations and the crux of LangChain components. Okay, and we'll be sharing all the different, right? So all the different components that I'll be sharing it in the first 2 weeks. Okay, and I'll give you the all complete Python package, the pre-recorded package for you to understand Python, the Python foundation and the intermediate, everything for free. And for the next 10 weeks, we'll take 10 different AI projects, right? So we'll take 10 different AI projects. So I've put that projects here: the AI resume analyzer, PDF summarizer, AI email assistant, YouTube summarizer, customer support bot, travel itinerary planner. We'll go through each and every projects in detail and understand this component, and at last we'll have an A, the caption project end-to-end AI assistant. I'll give you 10 plus working AI projects and get a portfolio that gets noticed definitely. Right, so that's the ultimate goal, and we have placed the course fee nominally at at 9999, right? So for exclusively for the people who have attended this webinar, I'm going to give 50% off, right? So you can use web 50, right? So you can use web 50 and you can enroll it, right? So you can enroll the courses. So this is the link, course link. I can share it to you over here, right? So we'll understand, right? So we can understand each and every components, and I've made it so much accommodative, right? So the simple mere project, if you go to other vendors, they'll be charging you close to 49,000, 50,000, even $1,000 and $1,100. I've been taking with different 5,000 for 12 different projects, right? So you can do the math, right? So what happens, right? So it's like close to 400 rupees you are getting one single project, the complete code, the code walkthrough, and the complete understanding. 400 rupees if you're not spending it for understanding LangChain. I think this is the cheapest and the most easy and most affordable sessions that I can give. Right, so working with other tech vendors. So we'll be starting at 23rd November, and it's a 12-week sessions. We'll have to 2 to 3 hours of session every weekend. I'll give you all the course materials, pre-recordings, and the recordings of that specific the webinar, all for free. Right, so 400 rupees for one single project is the cheapest thing that you can invest on. Right, so you can enroll here, and I've given you the link. Right, so I'll keep this active for only for select participants. Right, so I have right, so already 10,000 itself is very cheap, and I've made it 50% off, so that at least in motivation for the people who have attended this webinar and stayed till last. Right, so the session timings will start 10 a.m. from 23rd November, and will continuously go for the next 12 weeks. So we'll plan it accordingly. Right, so if there's a new year or if there's a festival, we'll plan it and take a week break, or we'll prepone it. So as we are progressing, Sunday 10 a.m. So that's what is the session timing for this cohort. We'll go in depth, in detail. I'll give you the complete code, and the end of the project, we'll see how to take it to production. Right, so you'll by the end you'll have a production ready 12 code. Right, so you'll understand what is how it is, how the market is disrupting by the end of this 12-week cohort, by placing 400 rupees for each and every weekend. Remember, 3 hours of session, I'm charging 400 rupees plus the complete code, the session materials, and also and lifelong networking with you guys. Right, so and I'm going to have very limited seat. You can see with the other vendors, I don't want to name it, they have 100 people, 150 people in one single cohort. I've shouted for 150 people, sometimes even for 200 people. I want to keep it only very, very, very limited. Right, so very limited cohort, so it is only for my own. Right, so I'm starting my own students, so I'm going to give my best for these students, and you can enroll here. Right, so every Sunday 10 a.m. exactly. If you want, we could alter it. Right, so it's customized, so I can do it, it's under my control, we can do it. Right, so and you can use this web 50 as this promo code, and you can enroll it. Is it doable, guys? Are you doing it? Still you need more details about this, I can give you. Right, so if the complete code of whatever the code that we wanted to see today, we can again walk through this next weekend, the complete webinar. Exactly, Satish. When do we need an MCP server? It's trending nowadays. Okay, MCP is the model context protocol. Right, so MCP is again a new topic, I can touch base on it. This is a complete hands-on. What is that? Let me open that page. Let me go there. Maybe since I've logged in, I'm not getting it. 1 minute. Let me take you to that. Right, so this is the project, the complete details. This is the project complete detail. Right, so this is what we can do it. Right, so you can use this web 50. Don't share this promo code to anyone. At least if you want your friends to join, it's okay, but don't put it somewhere in the web and all. So this 50% is only for you guys exclusively, and for you guys to enroll over here. Right, so in the WhatsApp, I can put, I think in the channel that you mean, I've shared it over there. Right, so what do we do here? Right, so this is what we are going to cover. Right, so do I okay, now to come to Bala's this question, do we cover the model context protocol? Model context protocol, it's more theoretical oriented, and how can I connect to various APIs using a common protocol is what model context protocol is. Right, so that's more of theory, it's a separate course altogether. Right? Maybe I could come up with an webinars. I could come up with a series of webinars, and people are interested. I could start up with an MCP. But this will be covering the hands-on project, and I can give you an lifeboat here. How can I connect agent to an MCP? I can take that in one session if you want. I can take that, how an MCP can connect it to a LangChain agents, and how can I connect to various different APIs. Maybe let's take one of this. We could alter it, and I can give you an high level overview of what an MCP is and how an agentic is. I'll cover it in webinars, and then if there is more interest, we can start with a new batch exclusive for MCP. But if you want an MCP in this, I can take it one specific project, and we can integrate an MCP to it. We had an agent, a knowledge base builder. We could let's bring in our own APIs to it. Let's bring in our own MCPs like and calculator agent, and how can I connect it to MCP to that. We'll do that. I'll try to accommodate it. Right. So, but this is what the goal is, and this is the promo code which I want to share. Right. So think over it. I want you guys to enroll it. So I'm going to have my own close notch people. Right. So my own people enrolled, my own students, and we'll be starting with a cohort, not with all non-interested people. Right. So we'll have an powerful networking over here. So whatever the courses, the Python intermediate and the Python foundations, so all those things I'll be adding it here. Right. So both this I'll be adding it within this LangChain Mastery Bootcamp. I'll be adding this both within this, so that you'll have an Python foundations as well. Right. So that you are getting ready. Right. So we have 2-3 weeks of time. So you'll have a fair understanding. Yes, we'll come. We'll definitely do it, Bala Satish. So if you get enrolled into this cohort, well, I'll try to accommodate in one of this session. Right. So, and this is what I wanted to have. Right. So this is the promo code, and we'll be starting with 23rd November, and yeah, this is a 12-week cohort, and I'm going to have it for very very limited people. Right. So exclusively for my own students and the past students who are looking for uh, to get into this world, right? And also the next webinar, right? So week on week, that's my ultimate goal, right? So build your first AI app with LangChain, right? So how can we have the complete walkthrough of this code, right? So whatever that I've left today, let's break that into step by step, right? So and then let's cover it. Right, so this is the next webinar. We'll be covering it on next Sunday, 10 a.m. I'm going to make this as and routine, cover various of these concepts, but this will be at an superficial layer. Right, so I need more time to explain these concepts. That's where we are starting with in cohort. Right, so right, so with mere 400 rupees for each and every project, we will be covering the LangChain mastery sessions. Right, so you take any courses and you cover it, right? So and you're going to see it, right? So it's becoming super expensive these days, right? So made it so much accommodative, right? So there's a lot of people, right? So the previous vendors who spoke to me, why you're keeping it as 9,999, so you can simply keep it as 75 to 30,000, right? So that's the actual market price. I've kept it 10,000, and I've still given 50% offer just for my exclusive students, and this is the first batch which I wanted to do it, right? So which will be very close to my heart. So I think that's where I've given this coupon code so that you guys can enroll on. Right. So and also please share your testimonials here. It will be very very helpful for me. Right. So and I'll also share my own. I think we are all connected in LinkedIn. This is the WhatsApp group and my LinkedIn profile. I've seen few people have enrolled. right? So please stay connected, and I welcome you all to the next webinar as well. Yes, definitely I'll do it, Satish. So one section I'll be doing it with MCP, as and request coming from you. I'll definitely take it up. Right. So uh, yeah. So after, so are you able to use this coupon code, guys? Bala, Satish, Praveen, Hargopal, are you able to use this coupon code? Bala, Satish, are you able to use this coupon code Web50? Sometimes this may throw an error. Right. So please enroll, and others, Hargopal, Prapagar Yadav, Praveen, Manjunath Reddy. So are you able to use this? Just have a look at it. Save this Web50. It's a close notch batch. We'll be having very limited people, and we'll be working on it. Oh, okay. There is some problem, huh? Okay. Ha, 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 ha. Maybe yeah. So this is I've this is integrated to a different platform. So that's where we'll get all this. This is an LMS platform, right? So I've integrated this to an LMS platform. I think there is some problem with this. Okay, okay, okay. Maybe let me take that up. Let me see if Zoom integration is possible. Let me see for the cohort. I'll take this feedback, and let's see if in Zoom integration is possible within this LMS. This is an LMS portal that I've purchased. Okay. So, okay, okay, okay. I'm sharing it again here. Right. So, fantastic. Okay. Okay. Bala Satish has done it. Yes. 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 Bala Satish. I can see that. Right. So, fantastic. Others, Haragopal, you're able to do it? By 28th. Okay. 28th. Okay. You will check it by 28th. Okay. 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 Take some time. You will think through it. Can also compare with, hundreds of vendors that's available. Right. So, and also you can go back and see what I have taken so far. Right. So, I also wanted to show this. Yes. The sessions that where all I have conducted. Right. So, you can see I've simply given that over here. Right, so all the past sessions at least limited. Right, so some guest lectures to the students. Right, so at least this is the patent filing that we have done here. This is the patent grant that we have done here for A-based working stick. So for the different vendors that how I have done the podcast. So this gives some credibility, right? So at least you should believe me, right? So what all that I have done in the past, right? So it's not just like all of a new I'm just emerging, right? So how I've contributed to various different platforms, right? So back in 20, I think 2022, 2021, right? So I got the best mentor awards from in college, right? So we used to go to the college and we were getting the best mentor awards for mentoring all the students here. Right. So, and a workshop as in guest lectures to and for various different colleges. This for an completing a complete batch here with upgrade. Best paper award, the paper presentations that I have done here. right? So yeah, so this is all the feedback from my students. This is the first batch that always been close to my heart, like how I'm doing it for you. This was the first batch. My mentoring started back in 2018, 2019. uh, so these are the different things that I can see it over here, right? So yes. Are you affiliated with Freedom? I take sessions for Freedom with AI, so there's no affiliation. I take some sessions, some guest lectures for Freedom with AI. That's Python basics, and we'll be covering the theoretical aspects of LangChain. So this is the practical sense. We'll be taking different projects here, and we'll be covering it. Right. So that's the difference. That's where I wanted to bring it, and difference by bringing all the practical use case scenarios. These are all project oriented, right? So uh, yes. So lifetime as in like yeah, close to 1 year. We can give it for 1 year, right? So after that, gradually this gets outdated. We'll have to by the fast this AI is generating, the LangChain packages will be outdated. Something we'll have to do it new. I'll try to give the recordings as long as possible. Yes, definitely. So Mandira and Manjunath, do you have any questions here? Are you interested in joining this cohort? I'll give it for 1 year. I can guarantee 1 year. Lifetime, though, I'll have to check with this LMS portal. Right. So how the lifetime works? Lifetime, there's no nothing. There's no guarantee for a lifetime. 1 year, I can give an access. Right. So it's guarantee access because this LMS, I've paid it for 1 year. I have the access for the 3 years. Right. So again, I'm dependent on another vendor for this LMS portal. Right. So where I'm hosting the sessions, I'm in one man show. It's a single man show. Me along with a few team members to just to bring this live. 1 year access, I can say. Haragopal. That's the promise that I can give. LMS is active. Yeah. So this is active for lifetime, right? So, but this courses I can give you guarantee for 1 year. That's what I'm trying to say. So, Bala Satish, you want prompt engineering, LangChain, Llama, how to select. Let's see how can I accommodate all these things. This is the agenda that I have set. So all these things we'll see where we can put in. Okay, maybe as part of a series of webinars we'll cover it. This is the course. The what you have signed up is exclusively for this. Say other things we'll see how we can accommodate in either in some inner circle calls or in a different way that we can see. Right, so Haragopal for the LMS is active for lifetime. This course access I can give you for 1 year. The recordings. Right, so Manjunath Reddy, you're there. Mandira. Do we provide username and password? Yes, yes. Yes, you'll have the username. So how did you go into this LMS portal right now? You'll have to log in, right? So that's the same thing. You'll now you'll have and separate access here. We'll start from the 23rd November. So then all the live maybe I can show it to you. The course, right? So this is from my screen, how it happens, right? So I'll give all the 12 weeks content over here. And what I'm going to load here, all the Python foundations and the Python intermediate. Complete thing I'll be adding it here. The addition is pending. So I'll add the complete Python for foundations, Python for AI foundations, Python for intermediate. I'll add everything over here. So the 12 weeks sessions, you can come and click on this and you can join it. So Banjanath, do you have, are you interested in joining this cohort? And Mandira, you also, right? So you can go in and okay. I think we are good. So any other questions, guys? So Bala, I think we are good here. Uh, do you have any other questions, Bala? Fine. Next webinar, I've given you the link here. I'll have webinars here. You can go in again. I'll give you a live session. Fantastic. And we also have Mandira. Am I pronouncing you correctly? Mandira. Fantastic. Now, yeah, let's keep the JAWS active. And next week, again, we'll join in next webinar. We'll see something interesting. I want to keep this webinar going forever, right? So something people learn, right? So this I'm starting it. So let's bring in a lot of concepts. Let me keep a note of what Bala has also mentioned. Let me cover. Let me let me note it down. Let me have. So I'm also figuring out on topic what are the topics that I can conduct as a webinar. So let me take this as an point. We can create some webinars around this, right? So I want to fuel this to get started, right? So that's where I've brought in cohort, right? So to go in depth, you want to look at the device and count restrictions. Yeah, let me get into that. Okay, so if you want, I can do that. See, people play around. So, Haragopal, can you just give me your email address? I found you. VH Gopal, right? VH Gopal. Let me. Number of logins is 6. There is 3 logins that you have done. Okay. Mm, let me figure that out. Okay. I'm not. I've seen this options, but you have already logged in 2 different tabs here. Now we are in Android Chrome. Okay. Let me figure that out. Courses, webinar, purchase history, information. Okay. Login devices you want to increase. Yeah. Let's see. Let me try to increase. People misuse it. So that was the reason that we have restricted it. Okay. Fine. Thank you. So Manjinath, Haragopal. So you both just think over and see you in the next week. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, exactly. Yes, we will try to tackle it. There was some options, and we have purposefully controlled it, right? So the number of logins to be very minimal, right? So fine, I think we are good here, and thank you, thank you all, guys. We'll see in the next week. All right. So thank you. Do you have any other questions? Fine. Thank you all. We'll meet in the next week. Okay. Bye.